Oh, shit.
Hell yeah.
Fuck. It is Wednesday, the 7th of October, and Donald Trump has passed away. Fuck yes. It is episode 36 of The Great Satan, the podcast about American imperialism, domestic and abroad. Fuck yes. I don't think I've been this happy on a Wednesday since 9/12 of 2001. I'll tell you what. Man, I was just so happy. Me and 200 Muslims were just dancing in New Jersey about
I saw it on tape.
Yeah, I didn't see it on tape. I was there. Me and 200 other Muslims were dancing in New Jersey. I drove all the way to New Jersey on a Wednesday just to dance on in New Jersey. That's the best place to dance. A lot of people don't know that about dancing in New Jersey, is that it's the best place to dance.
It's notorious for its dance culture.
It is. It really is. It's like Berlin in the 80s. I think is one of those. Is that right? Am I making a wall reference on accident? I didn't mean to make a wall reference.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I more meant to make like a fun gay culture dance club. Speaking of speed, fucking Trump, it didn't cure him.
No,
it did not work. Wow. Monday. It's crazy to think that in just 2 days, on Monday, the 5th of October, right, in the year of our Lord 2020, season 45 of Presidents Existing, the TV show, the musical, season finale, ended. Wait, no, it didn't end on the 5th. The 5th was like the 5th act of the thing. How does TV show writing work? I don't know.
It's like after they took Sorkin off, right?
Yes, I don't know who Sorkin is, but I will pretend that I know what that is. That's a West Wing reference, right?
Yes, that was a West Wing reference.
Man, I am so glad that I don't hang out with wonks.
Oh my God. You mind a little side story?
Yes, go for it.
When I was getting
a side story, this podcast is mostly improvisation. I was
doing some training.
Side stories.
When I was doing some training for a Democrat campaign in 2008, I sat down and it was the first day of training, so the person leading it was 2 hours late for some reason, and we're all just sitting in this classroom at this community college that got rented out for 4 weeks, and inside we're all just bullshitting, and everyone starts talking about favorite shows, favorite music, whatever, and the West Wing comes up. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, West Wing was it was a good show about a strong but flawed president who was really it was kind of out of his element and didn't really understand what he was doing.
Yeah. And
you should have seen every head immediately swivel.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? President Bartland is the greatest president ever. And I remember I was kind of like, well, no, he had a lot of problems, and he he kind of lied to himself and the American people over and over again. And people were just like, he never lied. I was like, the literal plot of the show is he's lying to the public that he doesn't have a neurodegenerative disorder.
Right. All the time. Right.
Right. He's had it since before he ran. That's the whole plot of the West Wing in the first 2-3 seasons, is his brain is melting and he can't do anything about it.
Yeah. The show, I think the pitch meeting was, what if Reagan was likable?
Right.
That's the whole show.
That's the show, that's
the elevator pitch.
And they all got mad at me, and I kind of backed off and was like, oof, I'm not trying to make enemies day one. I was like, yeah, just, Yeah.
I guess, look, it's just difference of opinion. I had a different read on it.
Yeah, exactly. And some of those people straight up were working in the White House a year later. So
yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. Indeed, yikes. I mean, that is, you could sum up Obama's whole thing is there were probably a bunch of people near and around him that definitely did like the West Wing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So
The only ones I could really like tolerate for any real distance were the ones who liked Arrested Development at the time.
Yes.
That was about it.
Yeah. Yeah, Arrested Development, speaking of 2008, shit that was dope in 2008. Hey, what's up? Arrested Development. Damn. Yeah, that show fucking rocked. It's interesting. I'll talk to people still today that just didn't get into it because television, like Arrested Development was so ahead of its time that it was like format wise, like the way humans watch TV now is so different than it was in 2008.
Right.
That like and it formed my idea of like what ahead of its time even means. It's like sometimes that is a position of immense privilege as an artist to be ahead of your time. It's like, oh no, you're not ahead of your time. You're ahead of the time of everybody in that you get media in a completely different way.
Right.
So like, critics loved that show, right? But it didn't work on TV because you couldn't miss an episode and it still be great, right? Like,
absolutely.
It's great when you binge it. It sucks dick if you come in on episode 4. You're like, there's 7 running jokes right now. I don't understand any of these callbacks.
Yeah, most of it was also like the combination of the marketing problem of it, where like, you know, in theory, Trump people should have loved that show.
Yes.
It's like all making fun of like effeminate liberals who can't do anything right.
Yeah. And also, exactly. And they allow like these W. Cheney types to just go completely unpunished.
Exactly. And they, you know, the people who were its audience weren't watching it because they thought it was making fun of them, and the people who, you know, it got kind of it's hard to sell like that kind of a farce almost, you know.
Right. Yeah, the classic, like the final episode after the credits rolled, they just ran a like blooper, I say blooper, but like off camera or off, it was on camera obviously, but like not being shot. It was, you know, improvised rant by David Cross, talking about why it didn't do what it was supposed to do, right? It's like, I don't know how you could not fucking market a show that has won this many awards 3 seasons in and make it a fucking commercial success. Like, that's absolutely the fault of the talent and not the fault of fucking marketing. And his frustration is not unjustified. It's also just like, you know, look, it's a network show and the network's the one that can fail it, you know?
Exactly.
It's their, I mean, yeah, it's their fault, but they're also the ones that paid to have it built. So like,
well, and to Cross's credit, that's why I found it, was because I like was a huge fan of David Cross, because he was one of the few comedians who didn't make you feel crazy immediately after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I was like him, Stanhope,
right?
You know, that kind of crew.
Yeah.
And I saw his face on the commercial, and I was just like sold. You know?
Done. That's it. I'm all bought in. Yeah,
exactly.
Same. It's like, yeah, that's a human being, and I know he's not going to put his name on something that sucks. So let's get with it. But yeah, fuck.
So is Trump alive still? I haven't checked.
I'm just so fucking happy he's dead on Wednesday. No, it is Monday. Sorry, we were goofing earlier. I thought it would be funny to talk about a happy Wednesday since 9/12 of 2001, the blessed year of our Lord, inshallah. And but Trump is going to die. We don't know that it's going to be Wednesday, but he definitely is on very cool drugs.
I mean, he's done. Like, it's regardless of what it is, anyone who gets hospitalized with COVID, like the rates of people who are able to exist without constant oxygen and stuff, like at his age, is very, very low.
Yes, exactly. I don't know how. So like, they got him back to the White House probably the same way they got him on the helicopter with the like portable,
with like a candy bar waving out the window, or what?
Yeah, that. Yeah, they threw a dog treat. What do you call it? And then they like threw 2 dog treats and then a stick of dynamite, and then he brought it back. No, the fucking, yeah, they use like a oxygen, right? The portable oxygen tank in his jacket or something.
Right, on the way to the helicopter, because his choices were you're going to get wheeled out like FDR, or you're going to have to like use oxygen.
Right, and he was like, "Fuck that! I'm walking in."
He made the correct political choice as far as I'm concerned. Like that is.
Yeah, no, him being rolled out of the White House would look so bad to his public.
Oh, absolutely.
No, if like a Obama or a Biden or like even a Hillary was president right now, and honestly even a Bernie, like I think if Bernie had won in 2016 and he was president, and even if he handled everything like the scientists tell him to and yada yada yada, and all of a sudden some Yahoo comes in shaking hands and kissing babies and giving people COVID, I think he would have been like, yeah, fuck it, wheel me out, I don't care, like, you know what I mean? But for Trump, it's impossible. Like that's just not a thing that he could abide as being rolled out. And Hillary would have looked awful being rolled out too. I think she even would have had to been like, no, I'll pass out on a black van before I, you know.
They would paint the oxygen tank like red so it could look like sriracha, you know?
Oh shit! Yeah, like a big hot sauce in her bag.
Right.
Yes.
It's just my hot sauce intake.
Yeah. Freak it Friday.
Although I always believed her on that, and I went to like old people can't taste anything, and they put hot sauce on everything. Like I thought of it as a function of being old.
Yeah, I actually, this is like, yeah, whatever. I'm not that old, but like I put hot sauce on everything to the point that I do carry it in a bag. When you had to go, like, back in you remember in the before times,
right?
You'd go on the road as a comic. There were restaurants just don't put spicy shit on anything. Like most of them, through most of the country, it's just not that spicy of food.
Yeah, if you're on a road trip, you're probably going inland a bit, and once you go inland at all, it's not there. You need water for spice for some reason.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you have to bring your own habaneros and whatever. So I definitely have had hot sauce in my bag at times in my life. So I don't doubt that she was telling the entire truth in that line. It was just very cringe to hear her say it in the way.
Oh, absolutely.
And honestly, though, her delivery on everything she's ever said has been very cringe.
It's been so cringe.
She could probably say the coolest thing ever, right? She could be like, in 2016, if she had won office somehow, like if that had happened, right? She won, and she had been like, Donald Trump, tax fraud, blah, 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 we're going to lock him up, right? Like if she just all of a sudden turned cool for like 2 seconds and was like, I'm going to cut his head off in Central Park, like, it's like the coolest thing that a person could say, right?
Right.
Whatever. She's like, him and Bezos, we're going to fucking chop them up into little pieces and barbecue them. Like, whatever. I don't know.
I just imagine Trump getting like a bag over his head, and then he wakes up and he's in like a Libyan slave market.
Oh, fuck. That would be awesome. Damn. Fuck. Was the old, like, from Airplane 1, the, like, you ever spent any time in a Turkish prison?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah. If you just, like, ended up in a very reasonable place for him to be. And then she's, like, takes credit for it, Like, yes, we absolutely did this overnight. And does, like, the old John Cena, we have compromised to a permanent end. Donald J. Trump, like, or whatever the fuck, I don't know. And she's just like, no matter how cool of a thing she's saying, it will always be cringe. She was like, we're going to Pokemon Go in his anus with, what, I don't know, a pineapple,
I guess you could say I played my Trump card.
Yes. Yes. It's not a tumor. It's DiGiorno's, like, or yippee-ki-yay, mother Trumper, She's like,
MAGA Trumper. There you go. MAGA Trumper.
MAGA Trumper. Yeah.
Oh my God.
He would find a way to make the coolest thing that's ever happened very, very cringe. Speaking of very cool things that happened, the Blacks Rule thing that is your icon. The
Absolutely.
Confederate flag, we were talking about it, and I thought it was very interesting that the flag was off the pole, right? I was like, nobody would take the flag off the pole before they burn it in his driveway. And then you brought up like, well, no, he took it off the flagpole to show it with the graffiti in one picture.
Right.
Which that made it make a lot more sense, because in my neighborhood, I live in Montgomery, Alabama, and there was a guy that had a big flagpole, like very high. You could see it from a main road. Even though he didn't live on a main road, his house backed up to a church that was on a main road, and then so it was all parking lot, and then there was just this fucking Confederate flag. Now there's a Trump flag there, but the Confederate flag got burned by somebody awesome, like somebody very, very cool. Not
I'm sure they were the coolest.
They were the coolest. Definitely not me. No irony. I'm not. I swear I'm not making a joke. That it was not me. It definitely was not me. I'm 37 years old. At 35 or 36 at the time. I don't remember when it happened because, like I said, it wasn't me. I just noticed that it went away. You know,
right?
And I assume whoever burned it didn't take it down from the flagpole when they burned it. I think they just like shot it with like something flammable and cool, like WD-40 or like maybe a fire extinguisher full of rubbing alcohol. I don't know.
Just a water balloon full of something flammable.
Yes, I'm spitballing, of course. That would maybe work. I think of maybe a balloon. A balloon would be awesome. Maybe a hot air balloon, like a little hot air balloon with like napkins, and you just light the napkins on fire.
It's like that Larry Walters or whatever his name is.
Yes, yes, yeah, exactly. It's just like, or like a Rube Goldberg device of fire.
Or just a really long stick on fire. I mean, you can light a stick on fire on one side and like 30 feet away, like grab it and start lifting it up and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many ways they could have done it without taking it down and putting it in the driveway is my main point.
This feels like one of those Google job interview. Like, you have to burn a flag that's 30 feet off the ground. How would you do that, you know?
Yes. Oof. I'm so glad I don't have to work for Google.
They stopped asking those questions, by the way, and I love it because every like dumb guy who like talks about HR stuff talks about how Google used those questions.
Yeah.
But the reality is they stopped it after a year and they were like, yeah, we found it doesn't actually, like, how well they operate in that question has nothing to do with how well they do with the job. All it does is make the interviewer feel smarter.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a power trip, and Google like actually cares about whether its people are the best or not.
Right. Which is so weird. Because they don't have to, you know?
Right.
Because it doesn't matter. Because Google's not the best thing, right? Like, of course, their autonomous cars, as crazy as this is about to sound, right, are objectively shittier even than Tesla.
Yeah, I would go there.
Yeah, they've caused as many wrecks, less deaths, fewer deaths, I should say. But more accidents, right? Like they slam the brakes on at exit ramps and just do dumb shit because it's the law, you know? But the Tesla one kills a lot more people. So it's a difficult call, which is worse. But Google's not a good company. I'm saying on YouTube right now.
I know. It's like, demonetized.
You think this is monetized? You think highly of me. No, this will never be monetized, probably in any way. Actually, no, there is one way that it is monetized, and it is time for our ad break. The Automotive Free Clinic out of Montgomery, Alabama. It is cool and good, and you should support it. It is a anarchist collective of mechanics and people that want people to have transit justice and can't necessarily advocate for light rail because we're in spaces that are completely destroyed by neoliberalism and other forms of capitalist hegemony. So we instead give people cars or fix their cars for free. There will be links in the item description. What the fuck? There will be links in the description to this YouTube video or on the Facebook video that you are watching this on. Automotive Free Clinic also publishes a magazine called I'm an editor on it. I should know the name of it.
Populist Mechanics.
Mechanics. Thank you. Yes. Also, thank you for the retweet of the recent editorial post.
Yeah, always.
Making fun of RBG dying and Hope and Mitt Romney's car's dog.
Did I tell you how many people in my life in 2009 when her diagnosis came through called me sexist for being like, yeah, she needs to push the eject button right now?
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. Where I was like, motherfucker, I'm on your side. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like, hey, out of respect for women's right to have choices in terms of health justice, I think that she should retire. And they go, you're a sexist.
Every time.
Yeah. Fucking
and
bonkers.
You know, I would talk about Breyer too, but like no one ever got mad about Breyer, so it wasn't even like worth talking about because everyone just kind of agreed.
Right.
And then you would get them to agree, and you'd be like, well, why not her too? And
because she wears a doily on her neck.
Well, pretty much.
Yeah.
I do like the symbolism though, that like what she's known for is losing.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good, pretty intensely good, to have like a record of losing.
Yeah.
Also, like it's also like unforced losses or whatever. So like her record, you know, you have to like share like 6 articles to have nuance to make it look like she didn't think that black people should be murdered in her Hyde Amendment comment. Right. Like, oh, well, actually what she meant was, and then here's 3 articles where it took her 4 weeks to figure out how to say she wasn't racist. But like, even then, she didn't get it done. We don't have the ability to fund reproductive health care in this country. It's illegal for the government to fund any kind of health justice initiatives when it comes to, you know, uteruses and stuff, right, or whatever. So,
and even if it like got covered overnight, even if it was like an issue where the feds could finally subsidize it, we're still talking years down the line before it could even be implemented in any kind of real numbers in this country because of all of the state level restrictions. And some of those state level restrictions like were losses, you know, at the Supreme Court level as well. So
correct.
You know, it is what it is.
It's a sad state of affairs is what it is.
I see a lot of people like getting weird about Republicans now kind of turning on Trump. Like National Review was critical and basically like he needs to drop out, and a few other and it's like they don't get the Republicans at all.
No, because it's win at any cost. That's their their whole thing. So there's nothing to get weird about. There's nothing to be like, wait, what does this mean? It doesn't mean anything. All they fucking care about is power.
Yes.
That's it. Just quit trying to understand it on a deep fucking crazy level. It's not that deep. They just win all the time. What's the old like win 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 no matter what? All I do is win 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 no matter what. Speaking of winning no matter what, I've got a piece, so we're gonna pause for 2 seconds in 3, 2, 1, zoom, and oops. You got that crack? Oh, yeah. I hear a can. Hell yeah. And they stay down. So that is, you know, conservative ideology boiled down to 13 seconds of audio by DJ Khaled. They don't care about there's no nuance to it. There's nothing that deep. It's just winning, right?
And it's like it's winning with like an ideological backing too. Like that part is important, but they're successful on that front.
Because like ending TPP has no conservative ideological backing at all. Where it's like, hey, let the global South have a shot, in any kind of meaningful, like, get rid of NAFTA. It's weird for right wingers to be like, get rid of NAFTA or GATT or the TPP, because it completely, like, their ideology would be like pro NAFTA and pro TPP. right?
Yeah, those are, and honestly, they didn't get the TPP back, but they got NAFTA back, the USMCA, and they got rid of really was the ISDS courts, and they're probably going to get that back too. And we're definitely putting thumbs. Like, I was anti USMCA and getting rid of NAFTA, not because I like NAFTA, but because I knew anything that came after it would be even rougher.
Right. Yeah.
On Mexico specifically.
Exactly.
I was like the one American who was like worried about Mexico getting crushed.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, for sure. So it's almost like I'm not pro NAFTA. It sucks, but also like it's stemming the tide of whatever horrible shit would come after it.
Right.
So,
and on NAFTA too, you had there were certain things that they tried to negotiate early on that actually would have been net positives. Mexico made the argument that if capital can move freely between the three countries, then so should people, and that there should be, temporary work visas for any Mexican citizen who wants to work a farm in America temporarily or in Canada, and vice versa.
right.
And America was like, if you do that, you have to give us all of your oil. You have to give us your oil reserves.
Right.
And then Mexico was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, fuck that. And that goes back to like their ideology is just whatever they want is what their ideology backs up. Right. So like,
right.
Reagan, I guess, was like mostly ideologically conservative, like in a whatever paleo thing they want to say that means, because he was like, well, they're coming here to work. Like, what do you mean they don't deserve to be here? Like, like even as fucking racist as he was, right? He was like one of the worst human beings alive, but the ideology that he was selling as like a, it all relied on that like freedom of movement, freedom of markets, right? So he was like,
and he also was keenly aware that number-wise, they had to legitimize those who were already here to create a class to oppose those who would come, because they knew, like, when the whole process was beginning, that there would be a ton of Mexicans coming north to get the jobs that they lost,
right?
In terms of agriculture, because they knew that we would flood their corn market. They knew that we would flood their what little of the wheat market they had. So people were aware of these things, and he basically was like, okay, I need to legitimize every person here so that, 10 years from now, they're going to be saying, hey, I was legal.
Right.
I got a magic wand waved and I got lucky. So that means that what you're doing is bad. And they, honestly, from my experience in like Texas politics, they were pretty dead on. The first thing people whose parents were legitimized through Reagan's amnesty say is like, well, my dad did it legitimately. And it's like, your dad literally just showed up one day after like an amnesty order. Like you're pretending he like filled out paperwork. He didn't.
No, exactly. And when you go through like what the legal process was always for, I mean, it's not like Reagan did a crazy thing with giving amnesty either. Cause it's like, that was the law. Like,
right.
Show up is the first step to American citizenship nationalization. It is show up.
It wasn't a crime to cross over.
It's still not a crime. Like the crossing over part is not a crime unless they can prove that you are trying to not become a citizen and work illegally. Meaning like if you have drugs on you when you show up show up to be here legally, right? So if you have, you're doing an illegal thing. Like let's say you show up and they catch you doing a prostitution, then they can be like, you meant to be here illegally, right? Or you do anything gray market or black market, basically. After showing up legally, then you're illegal, right? But other than that, you're not illegal. Like, it's just not a thing.
Well, they made that law. It was I can't remember if it was end of Bush or beginning of Obama, but they did make the law that basically said by not being a valid citizen with the visa coming over, the only acceptable answer is that you're seeking refugee status, and you have to file that you're seeking refugee status. So by creating those requirements, they created a legal doctrine that allows them to say you're illegal.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's bullshit.
That was end of W. I want to say it was like what?
I want to say it was like 2007, like on the way out kind of thing. Yep. Because you got to remember, when ICE started, the whole purpose of ICE wasn't actually, they weren't kind of expecting it to become what it became. The real goal was like crushing labor unions in the Midwest, because there were all these meat processing unions that were like, you know, a generation had passed since the 70s, when they would like just import a whole bunch of immigrants from one random country.
Right.
And those people had kids, and those kids were growing up in the community. So they were citizens, they had political power. So ICE was there to basically like crack down and make it so that those meat processing plants could switch out employees. So they would select everyone from one country, and then 10 years later they would call ICE, get rid of everyone, and then get, you know, a whole nother country worth of people like just plopped in their county for their chicken processing or beef processing.
Right.
And that was just a cycle that was happening forever, and it's still pretty much happening.
Right.
But their role got expanded over and over again to what it is now.
Yeah. Instead of a like race thing like Chicago was back in the forevers ago. Right?
Yeah.
With the guy that wrote the oil and the There Will Be Bloods and the stuff, right? Like that.
Henry Plainview, right?
Yeah. I'm a yeah. When I tell you I'm a meat packing man, you'll believe the same. Or, I drink your beef blood. Like I drink it up. But no, instead of just like black and white unions and like union busting by segregation and creating like fake unions, they're doing it with like federal state power and just get rid of the entire thing. Like instead of Irish need not apply, they're like Irish apply for sure, and then they're like 6 months later, go home, you know.
And you know, it was effective at what it did. And what's weird is some of these unions, because you know the whole the racist union like trope,
Right.
like there's legitimacy to it historically, but after and honestly I want to attribute a little bit of it to Jesse Jackson after his Rainbow Coalition. A lot of unions started being like, okay, you know, this is a game we got to play, this is like, you know, we need to bring more people in. And
Right.
they started organizing unions that had a lot of labor and were very low profit industries, high revenue. And one of those was meatpacking. So they very tactically decided to take on meatpacking, and the response was ICE to some degree.
Yeah, exactly. We don't call conservatism, like we don't call them reactionaries for nothing. Like they are working to uphold like this profitable system of oppressions, and they do it by reacting to any kind of like left coalition building, whether that's rainbows or, you know, puppy dogs or unicorns, right? It doesn't matter what kind of coalition you call it, they're going to react to it with some form of violence.
Yep. But on the plus side, Trump has COVID, so
oh fuck, it's so good.
It's so good. I forgot for like
so
5 seconds.
Good. Like you get bummed out for a second and then you remember it and you're like, fucking yes. You know? It's like the other, like it always comes back to like the worst thing is the hypocrisy. It's like one of the greatest jokes of all time is Norm Macdonald's like, the worst thing is the hypocrisy. It's like I constantly go like, oh, fucking Trump. Yeah, like I see people on Twitter being like, he's doing the speed and the drugs, right? And I go like, well, that's cool and good. Like drugs are cheap. Like do the drugs. Like absolutely do drugs. Like I drank. I made myself like a bunch of coffee because I'm up later than I normally am, and I was like, I'm gonna make coffee, and then I fucked around and put a straw in it instead of being like, I'll sip on this.
Right.
I drank like a half a liter of like real strong. Like real fucking strong coffee. So I guess what I'm saying is like me too.
Right.
Like me and him are like the same thing, except instead of baby foreskins or whatever cool drugs he's on, I'm on just regular coffee, you know?
Exactly. And you know, it's the image I'm now having of you drinking this coffee is like the TMZ when they do the like in office thing and they have those giant jugs. And they're just everyone's sipping from those jugs. Yeah. That's what I'm now imagining.
Straight up, it was a wide mouth Mason.
Yes.
Like half liter. And then, I just filled that motherfucker all the way up with a pour over. I did a pour over rig all the way to the tippy top. 213 degree water, pour over, let it go. And then, and like 2 tablespoons of coconut oil.
Yeah, what's the coconut oil for?
It's a fat, so it binds to the caffeine. It makes it like hit a little slower is the point. So you get like because it's hot, so you get the sublingual in your mouth. So that's where you get most of your caffeine comes from. But then it also is like an edible, right? So it hits later and harder. So like,
So is this like when people put butter in coffee?
it's exactly like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to do ghee, which is like a clarified yak butter.
Right.
And so fucking weird to talk about this. Joe Rogan ass bullshit. But okay, yeah, it's bulletproof, dog. But no, it's like it's weird because like the science behind like using caffeine for like whether it's A spectrum stuff or ADHD or whatever, instead of like dextroamphetamines or like a 80-20 blend Adderall or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, like it's a big long history. It's not like modern. It's not brand new to be like, yeah, caffeine helps you function when you're.
No, I remember a guy who threw butter in his coffee, and it had to be mid-90s in Idaho. So at a Waffle House, basically. So
yeah, it's not old. It's not new. And like down here, like I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. You're in Texas. Like the concept of fat in coffee is so much older than even like we talk about it. Like, I mean, yeah, butter. I remember, butter in 98, 99 maybe is about when I started doing coffee hard and heavy. Early 2000s for sure. And around like 2006 or 7, ghee became like more widely available. I would also do duck fat.
Oh man, that like makes me like, if it works, it works. But I just that's for fries and good gravy.
Right. Well, duck fat, it's a low smoke. It's like whatever high smoke point. So like to try to do it into like with espresso or like a mocha pot.
Right.
Right, like where it's gonna hit really high temperatures before you throw it over ice. The good kind of
abolish ice.
Yeah, abolish ice, but you got to use it in your coffee sometimes. Actually, if we could drown every ice agent in coffee.
I mean, we got to leave one to send the message to the other federal agencies. That's how they do it in the movies.
Oh yeah, wait.
You leave one survivor, and you're like, go tell the DEA.
Oh yeah. So that's where Castro fucked up, is all those people who had the golf courses that he got back, and made into schools. He sent them to like Miami or whatever, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, just don't I'm all for like, abolish the death penalty, of course. But like, look, these motherfuckers own slaves. Just get rid of them, like, or put them in some kind, like if there's a reason to have prisons, obviously abolish prisons, abolish the death penalty. But like, pedophiles and slave owners, billionaires is what I'm saying. Yeah, put billionaires in the prisons.
Yeah. My favorite thing in the world, by the way, is getting lectured by people who like whine about Castro. Like, hey, you got to make sure you're telling everyone to vote for Biden, to vote for Biden, because no matter what,
right,
he's not Trump. It's getting rid of Trump effectively. And it's like, then why do you always bitch about Castro? Like, are you pro Batista?
Yeah.
And they're like, it's different.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's different?
Yeah, exactly. Everything's different when it's not like us. That's like the biggest lesson in history, and the deeper you dive, is that it's very easy to think that like what we do is different.
Yeah. No, right this second, it's completely different, and it's nothing like 1931. What I mean? Like, there's no difference, and the communists absolutely need to register to vote and then show up and beat brown shirts up at the polls, and then vote for a centrist piece of shit that then hands power directly back over to fascists. It's different now, though, because we'll absolutely stem the tide of fascism by just doing it ourselves.
My favorite part of FDR was that FDR did, he was trying to preserve class to some degree, right? He was basically like, the lower class needs to be well fed so that they don't, look at our fat, right?
Aristotelian welfare statism, yeah.
And to be honest, if we're talking incrementalism, that is a vast incremental improvement over everything we literally have on the table.
Yeah,
anytime soon. What?
Guillotine insurance. That's the Bernie centrist thing. It's like,
and they still tried to kill him. like they still coordinated an assassination against him that like never happened, but
Right.
they still were like, no, this is too much. Listen, we know he's protecting us,
Yeah.
but he's he's cutting into our bit a little too much.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy to think about like how far to the right Bernie is, right? And like they still shot that motherfucker with a heart attack gun. He wasn't even president. Like it's crazy, right? To think like how little they're willing to give up.
I mean, obviously they did it. Like, why do you think he's campaigning so hard right now for Biden?
Right.
He knows what's on the other end for him if he doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. That because I keep thinking like, what the fuck? Because if the thing is, even if Biden wins, right? So Biden wins, and for the rest of forever, Bernie's still like this dude that didn't do enough to the media class, right? He's still always going to be like, he tried to fuck it over for everybody and give Trump another term and Russiagate and blah, 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 right?
Right.
And also thoughts and prayers because Trump has COVID, right? Like, so they have their cake, they eat their cake, they both have their cake and they eat their cake, right?
Right.
And what does he get out of it, right? What does Bernie get out of campaigning harder for Hillary than Hillary and campaigning way harder for Biden than Biden? Is
I think he's just used to losing. I think that part gets kind of left behind, is that even though he's had some amazing electoral successes in his life, he is not used to getting his way in terms of anything legislatively.
Right.
So I think it's just he's got a 40-year framework of that, and that's pretty much as far as it goes.
That is Arkham's razor, I would say, as simple as
Arkham's razor.
No, I think you're probably 100% right.
It's that if your cat's name is racist enough, it becomes cool again.
Yes, exactly. I did name my cat Gamer Man.
My favorite part about that name is it's not even like easy to say.
No, man, it's got way too many soft syllables in it.
Like if it was a one syllable slur, like something that like Michael Jackson would throw out in the middle of a song, then okay, at least it's easy to say. Like mechanically, he just was like, no, I'm taking the extra step.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to be like overly verbose even in my pet's name.
Yeah. I want to say there was a single syllable slur back then for Japanese people.
Them? I mean, it depends.
Well, the J one, where they just...
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't
that a World War II invention? Wasn't that like in the 30s?
Was it? I thought it was older than that, where they were just like, you know...
I mean, it could be. I'm less familiar with the history of
just landing a hard
should
P, just stop saying Japanese in the middle, and then you got it. Like, just land on the P, and it's a slur all of a sudden.
I actually, now that we're looking at the Black's Rule guy on the screen, that makes me think of when I first saw this in my bud. It was one of those real life laughs that you could never get on a stage just because of the context required and all that. But I had my bud dying because he was like, "Why do you think he did Black's Rule?" And I was like, "Well, he started the beginning of an N, and then he realized he couldn't do what he wanted,
right?
So he had to turn it into a B."
Yeah. No, and, you're not wrong. Like, there's no possible way that he didn't think about just like, wait, if black people were putting graffiti, they could say it.
Right.
That's definitely what he was thinking.
It's like when Frank and Sonny is like all of a sudden black and he decides like, now's my chance.
Yeah. Gonna say stuff.
Gonna say homie.
Gonna say my man.
That was my favorite. My man was so great because it was so like 70s.
Yeah. He did. Yeah. He said it like with a sing-songy, almost like, that's so good. Yeah.
It was so good.
Jive in his step, and he's got his hands out. Oh, fuck. One of the greatest talents in American history, I would say.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the most talented human beings, theatrically, comedically. Just fucking such a treasure. Oh,
that whole show. I don't understand people who like, first off, I don't understand people who hate the newer seasons. That already like drives me crazy. But I don't understand people who just don't get the show at all.
Right. I do. I mean, I get people that don't get comedy, right? Like I I started comedy really, really young. So like through, I guess like, immediately post-pubescent adolescence or whatever.
Right. Didn't Bryan Singer pick you out?
Yeah, he was like, hey, come be fully flaccid in a shower and it'll be very funny on stage.
This is a very normal movie we're making here.
We're going to make a very normal movie about being in the Navy if you were 14. And so it's basically Starship Troopers if it was in the 50s and you're on a boat.
Right.
So that's the first movie I got to do. It was very funny. It was completely cut out. That scene was just completely cutting room floor.
Yeah, but every time I bring it up, you can never remember what happened those days you were filming. It's just a blank memory for you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember craft services being very cool. They had, we did have a slip and slide between our trailers that was very cool. I remember thinking that that was something that I would like to do someday when I wasn't busy shooting. It took 7 days to shoot, by the way. It was weird. And we slept on set naked in cold water on the shower floor. And all of us got athlete's foot.
It's Tinseltown, baby.
Yeah, it was Tinseltown. It was actually really weird. That is the name of the boat that we were on was called the SS Tinseltown. And the S's were drawn in a really problematic way.
They look like lightning bolts.
Kind of like lightning bolts. They looked like Brian Chippendale and Brian Gibson of Lightning Bolt.
So that's why he was in the app Pupil.
Yeah, he was definitely a RISD kid. He was definitely into noise music. He definitely liked Pink and Brown. He was into the power of salad and milkshakes. You know what I mean?
I just think it's weird that they hired Kevin Spacey for your scene, and then you and him were kept out of the whole movie.
Yeah, they cut our entire scene. It was really weird. I find that hard to swallow, actually. They spent so much on the filming that I asked for justification and they gave me the justification and I said, I find this very difficult to swallow. That part, I remember saying that to them. I said, I find this hard to swallow.
That does sound right.
But yeah, I forgot what we were talking about. It doesn't matter. Oh no, because I was like we were talking about like why people are like bad at getting comedy, and I was
humorless.
Like, humorless fucking people, and I was like, doing comedy too young to like really know what an audience do in a lot of ways. Where I was like, no, they'll just be what I tell them to be, right? Like
right.
This fucking piece of shit, egotistical, like I'm an artist. I can tell people what to think as an artist, right? Like if they don't get it, then fuck them. And then it was like, oh, well, I forgot. They're all people, right?
They're human beings. I'm not the protagonist of life.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just this vague thing in front of me that's made up of like weird noises that sometimes sound like words and booing, you know? It's like they have thoughts and feelings of their own and they can decide that like maybe it's not appropriate to tell a woman that's leaving during your set that she drinks to forget her baby, you know?
Jesus.
Maybe that's inappropriate for a 15-year-old in a leisure suit holding like brandy snifters full of flat Diet Coke and ice to tell a person, you know? So what the point is, like, they're allowed to not think Sonny's funny. Like, that's fine.
No, they're allowed. It's like, it's alien to me to some degree.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, it is really weird. Like so as a person with good opinions, it is very weird to be like, oh yeah, there are people with bad opinions, right?
Yes.
And in politics, that's why like people are drawn, like people that are like, whatever, more analytical or material minded are drawn to politics because it's like, you can kind of predict what people that put a lot less thought into the world than you will think, right?
Right.
You could be like, oh yeah, dumb people think this, right? And not even calling them dumb makes it like a thing, but
just people less invested in like knowing about it than you are, which makes them more sane. Just categorically.
The grill people, right?
Right.
The day of election, show up and see a poster and go, you know what? I will. Like,
Yeah.
they have no idea who a person is. They're just like, fuck it. Yeah.
I will say one of my favorite things about the Bernie campaign was so many like young Zoomers
Yeah.
who were doing politics for the first time, and they would get out there, and their first day they'd be like, I talked to a guy today who like, wants open borders, and he wants a $15 an hour minimum wage, and he wants universal health care, he wants guaranteed health care, he wants Medicare, he wants what Canada has. And the only exception is he wants to execute Dominicans who are in the country.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's an American. Like there's always weird beefs always, and like a completely inconsistent ideology.
Yeah. This shit sometimes just doesn't make any fucking sense. I was, door knocking before Alabama's primary or whatever, just doing voter turnout is all we could say we were doing for safety reasons. That's what we always said, was just doing a voter drive, just in case, because you say you're with Bernie in Montgomery, Alabama, and you never know, someone could just fucking shoot you. So it's always just about voters. But then this like probably 89-year-old fucking dude is like an old wobbly.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck yeah, dude, what's up? Like, so he's just like, yeah, he's like, I'm voting in the primary. It's probably gonna be Bernie. I hope it's Bernie, and it's just like heartening to find people that are like that. And then halfway through it though, you're like, hell yeah, like a yes should be a fast thing where you're like, get me the fuck out of here. I got more doors to knock, but he's like, 45 seconds into a conversation is like said something almost vaguely racist, and you're like, well, fuck, I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to you can only ask so much of people before like you got to get them on the project somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The thing that leading up to Iowa or whatever, that I was always like, there's going to be some people voting for the people you vote for that have said slurs. Like, and that's okay. Like, we're not asking
100%.
them to not ever say slurs again. We're saying
Some of them are other candidates.
Yeah, exactly.
On video
saying them, like, so we're, actually, yeah, half the country's about to vote for a guy that absolutely
yeah, exactly.
hard R in bombs in the Senate floor.
Yeah, I know. Like, imagine if he was trying to go for SNL.
Yeah. I'm surprised Jim Carrey didn't like bust out some gamer words.
Oh, I know. He was like, hey, I'd like to remind everyone of Ace Ventura 2.
Yeah. Oh, wait, didn't he say?
I don't think he said words, but he did like the bone through the nose kind of stuff. Like they got real yeah, it was not good.
Yeah. Bumblebee tuna, and then the like speed of a mongoose, and then he like hit the thing in the leg. God damn, that movie's so good. Jim Carrey, man. God damn. Speaking of fucking, like, it's like with Sonny, it's like, I get it. You could be like enough of like a joyful person to be like, oh shit, they're doing blackface, and not think like that they're doing characters that are doing blackface, making blackface, right? But to be like such a joyless person to watch something like that and not be able to turn your brain off for 90 minutes, right?
Yes.
Is like, I know it's problematic. Like, we both realize that it's fucking problematic. It's not cool. I definitely would not make a movie where I have a bone through my nose. That movie's fucking funny because he's playing an idiot that is doing that, right?
Yeah, the whole shtick is he's basically Mr. Magoo, but socially.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes back to Sonny, where it's like they're being evil. Like, so evil people do evil shit. So the evil shit that those characters do is saying it's evil.
My favorite is like people who watched it and they get offended by that. And it's like, you don't remember in like the third episode when he was like straight up, he was like, yeah, I'm at the abortion clinic. I'm going over to the pro-choice side because I want to get laid tonight. Like,
yeah.
Like, so much more offensive stuff happened in the show prior to that.
Yeah. The blackface episode's like, they're not blackface the whole episode. I don't remember the whole episode, but like they're not blackface the whole episode. They're reshooting like an ending to Lethal Weapon that's a happy ending.
Right. And they like are thinking about transitioning it to a sequel, I think. And the
Yeah.
whole shtick is that like one of them is full in on the blackface, and the other one's like, no, you can do it tastefully, but then starts describing buying shoe polish, and he's like, whoa, 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 shoe polish? That's more racist than what I was talking about.
Yes, that's right. And then, yeah, what's her name? And then D is in like the hair and every fucking. Yeah.
Oh my god.
God damn it. Damn. Yeah. Donald Glover. No, Donald.
No, Danny.
Danny.
Glover.
It is Danny. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like Danny, and then I was like Donald, and then I was like, wait, no, Donald Glover.
That's Childish Gambino.
Childish Gambino. Not the other. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of canceled people.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, you can't mention anything. Everybody's canceled, and then it's so weird because none of them are around to celebrate with us the death of Donald Trump. Because they've all been canceled.
Well, and it's also funny because like most of them aren't canceled, and that's the other part. Like there was that SNL guy who I did not give a shit about, the Shane or whatever.
Gillis, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really care about him. His comedy wasn't funny to me, which was, basically as egregious as anything else. But like it, most people are when they get canceled, it's just like they move to a different project like 2 years later,
Yeah.
It's very like Catholic Church.
Yeah, you get moved around, and it's weird with him too because it's like if you listen, like the thing he got canceled for is like a thing I have absolutely said to like dumbass boomers at work that are like, the 2008 financial crisis is because they let blacks move wherever they want, and I'm like,
oh, was that really it?
No, he said the opposite of what those boomers are saying, where he's like, he was describing what redlining is, right?
Oh my god.
It's like, and he mocked banking. Like, so he did like this redneck character voice and was like saying all of banking said the C word and like they can live over there, talking about Chinatown, right?
Right.
So he's like doing the thing that I have absolutely done, but without saying slurs, of course. And just being like, no, for like 50 fucking years, all of the banking system was doing segregation. Like, you get to go here, and you get to go here, and you get to go here, right? So I'm doing that to like boomers at work, for the last 20 years, basically. Every boomer that talks about redlining in like a way that it's not happening or that it needs to happen more or whatever. And you're like, wait, why do you guys think that shit? And then he's talking out against it. And then he said the C word in the context of it. So anyway, so him before getting canceled is like borderline a fucking communist in terms of American politics. Right.
Compared he insulted bankers. That was probably honestly a bigger problem with the people who are very willing to cancel him.
Correct. Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden he's got to put a fucking MAGA hat on in comedy sketches, right? Because his audience is like pro-Trump people.
Well, obviously. And now it's like he not only got canceled, but he's also got the addition of, it was because I criticized bankers and the entertainment industry wasn't ready for me. Like now he has to go for that angle.
Right. Yeah. And I would hope, I haven't seen that much of his newer shit, but I would hope he wouldn't be like openly anti-Semitic.
Wait, what do you think I was referring to? No. I hope he doesn't for certain, but like that's the easiest route to go, and that's how people work. It would be
a very easy way to go. But no, I've listened to like his what was it, the puppy girl, right? The puppy girl from Twitter with the OnlyFans, the world.
Oh yeah, Jenna.
Yeah, Jenna something. And I went on she retweeted a thing, and she was on that show. Like his.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, she was on his podcast, the Matt and Shane Secret Podcast, and it was like, it was really fucking funny. He had like some, I wouldn't say like openly anti-Trump stuff, but like if you were pro-Trump, you would be like, he's just messing with our boy in like locker room kind of ways. But it was like, he calls him like fat sassy boy. Like that's what he calls him. He doesn't call him like Trump, the T-Dog or whatever. He's like he calls him big fat sassy boy.
That's
And like
amazing.
he just makes fun of him all the time, but in these like kind of acceptable ways to people that like Trump. It's
Right.
like how I'm the biggest Norm Macdonald fan ever, and I'm like, as a forever up until like maybe 2-3 years ago was like, oh no, he's absolutely a leftist and is like hiding it, right? Where he's entertaining these like right-wing ideas so that he can expose right-wingers to
You
like,
talk about Norm?
yeah, even Norm. I like had deluded myself into thinking like, no, he's definitely like a leftist. And
Yeah, no, his history of like living with the what was it, the Quebec separationists or whatever, like them bombing stuff, that probably formed a lot of his early, because he like had legit like terrorism, like shit getting bombed when he was a kid.
yeah, exactly. Like I know that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
I know
can't
that.
really blame him too much for that. So I mean,
Yeah, it's also like he's a fucking genius, and so it's
he's
like
less racist than the normal person his age.
oh, that for fucking sure,
That's
right?
how I will describe Norm Macdonald and his wonderful Nixon takes, which are all correct.
Yeah, his Nixon takes are all correct. And also like I would be again, yeah, back to it's one of those jokes that's like I find everywhere now, right? Is the hypocrisy is the worst thing,
Right.
It's always like I see people literally do it all the fucking time where they're like they started calling out the fucking Republicans like they're gonna push through a Supreme Court. It's less time, than Obama had, and you're like, yeah, they don't. What do you mean the hypocrisy is the worst time? They're rapists.
Well,
Like
yeah, that's
they
the
don't
part that
care about
always
hypocrisy.
gets to me.
Yeah. Um, so it's like even if he's not openly or expressly or even actually a leftist, just by being a good comedy writer, his brain comes up with left takes all the time.
Right.
So and I'll say the same thing for Shane Gillis, where it's like I know there were times before SNL where it's like I didn't necessarily agree with the exact take, but he was going the right direction with a thing. Definitely saw examples of that where it's like I agree with the directionality of this joke, and where it punches is at capitalism, right?
Right. I'm
And
with you.
I wouldn't probably say the C word making fun of redlining, um,
Yeah.
or the N word, which is probably more appropriate actually, right? Like they definitely did it to black people worse than they did it to Chinese people, you know?
I mean, neoliberalism hit both of them.
It hit, well, really it hit. It didn't not hit anybody, but it hit, yeah, it definitely hit both Chinese people and black people, right?
Right.
So either way, that joke works. But saying a slur is unnecessary because I said them, and that's enough. You just go, these people go here, these people go here. Like that's enough. You get it. Bankers.
Even like a little bit of like them boys.
Yeah, you could say them boys. You could say my man. You could say motherfucker. You could say all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
Without it being, well, I was about to say without it being problematic. It's probably a little. What I just said is probably at least a little problematic to somebody.
Yeah,
Right?
it's problematic to someone, but it's people get the gist.
Yeah, exactly. And they
It's not
know.
you're not loading the joke with things that take away from it essentially.
Yeah, and that is what slurs do. I think in a lot of contexts, right? Like,
Yeah, it makes the focus the word instead of the actual construction.
yeah, exactly. So that's like we're like 3 for 3 on asides. I forgot what we were talking about before Shane Gillis popped up. But
Trump dying.
oh yeah, fucking Trump dying. God, our big fat sassy boy got the Ronies.
For real though, he like is talking about going to the next debate, and I think he will. And honestly, I think he might just pass out. Like,
dude, I hope they need to do it like what Biden needs to do. If he wanted to just be like big dicked as fuck, it would be just to be like, yo, I've got an opening at noon on Thursday.
right.
That's when I can do the next debate. I'll be 100 yards from the White House. You'll have to sprint because I've got 15 minutes to do it. So I'm going to show up. I'll call you when I get there on a cell phone. All the cameras are going to be here. I need you to sprint 100 yards to the podium.
Honestly, that's almost like a little too much. Like, just say, like, let's do a walking debate. We'll do it on the street, socially distanced. We'll just walk the whole way.
A tracking shot. Yeah, like do it the way that Bryan Singer did my tracking shot naked, flaccid in the shower.
Like one of those wedding proposal videos, you know, that go viral. That just in the back of some guy's car with a camera, and they're just walking slowly.
Yeah, behind it. Yeah, exactly. Like the cameras all are parked like in the back of a, you know, like a Honda Civic. You know, the cameraman's got the trunk open.
Right.
And then they're just walking behind it while it idles.
Right. And then it's like, you know, Anderson Cooper in like the back of a golf cart facing them, just, you know, screaming orders from a bullhorn.
What do you guys think about the deficit? You know, or whatever.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
ask about the deficit now. It'd be crazy, but it shows how fucking old I am. Like every now and then little things will date me, you know?
I will be right back there next, like end of next year. It will be a discussion. It will.
When is a Democrat as president again? When there's a Democrat in office, for sure they'll start talking about the deficit like it's a thing that matters.
Exactly.
We're like, fucking deficit's out of control. You're like, we just gave $2 trillion to rich people.
And they'll be like, yeah, we know that. We got to, like, you know, tax everyone less and find a way to pay off the deficit at the same time.
Right. We got to figure out how to make numbers work backwards.
Yeah.
See, that's the real oppressor, right? If you're conservatively ideologically minded as a reactionary or whatever, the real enemy is numbers.
Well, and they don't care. I don't know any conservative like who makes, let's say, more than $120,000 a year. I don't know any conservative who makes less than $120,000 a year. I don't know any of them who care about the deficit. Not
Right.
one.
Not one. They don't give a shit.
They want to lower government spending and they'll talk about the deficit, but when you get really down to it,
Right.
they'll be like, I don't care. I just don't want to pay taxes. Like that's
It's like what I really want is for me personally to not pay taxes.
right.
And you go, that's actually very fucking easy.
And that's one thing I hate is that, like, they, you know, like when the Republicans are, you know, committing all sorts of hypocrisy, they're not doing it on a whim and they're not doing it for fun. They're doing it because they know their voters tolerate, like, their voters don't care about the hypocrisy. They care about their agenda.
Right.
And honestly, that's like a more successful way to run an ideological project. It's why so many, like, Republicans are going to be coming out against Trump in the upcoming weeks, because they're like, fuck it, we can ditch him, we can grab Pence, we don't care, it's not going to really make a difference to us.
Right. Yeah.
You know, Pence will have a better shot, thus Trump is out if he's not strong enough.
Yeah, if it comes down to, like, you know, Pence versus Biden, it is identical.
Yes.
You have Biden ran on, I mean, even through the primary, right? His entire policy positions are, I'm going to do Republican shit, but I'm going to be nice and look okay on camera and not be unhinged on Twitter.
Yeah, the biggest difference will be Biden will hire less evil people, but they're not, it's a matter of not moving the ball further in one direction versus actually making movement in yours.
Yeah.
And I don't blame anyone for getting, like, upset at that choice and getting, like, mad about it, because you kind of should be mad.
Yeah, holding still is what got us here in the first place, and whether that's for 4 years or 8 years, it should infuriate people that the prospect of, you know, the next almost a decade of our lives, the best we can hope for is no movement.
Literally, yeah, that's the big issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's so troublesome how people kind of ignore that. And people also don't have empathy for that, you know, to some degree, like empathy for voters who have trouble with it. Especially because it's a lot of poor people. It's a lot of people who are recently unemployed.
Yeah.
You know, and this is such a chaotic election.
It's people that won Obama 2 elections. It's
totally
that did not vote for Hillary. And
people people always ignore that like a fifth of Obama's voters thought miscegenation should be illegal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a fifth, like 1 in 5 of his voters were like, yeah, Obama, you shouldn't exist.
Yeah. And still voted for him.
And still voted for him. That's like and
Because,
it's, I did rural outreach in the Midwest,
yeah.
and I still remember like talking to voters. Everyone had the same fucking joke.
Yeah.
They were like, well, I don't normally trust guys like him, his kind. Well, I trust him. Well, half of him.
Yeah.
That was the joke. That was everyone's joke.
Yeah.
And they would be like, I know you like comedy, so that, that I got a joke for you. And that I knew that joke was coming every time.
Yeah. Yeah. I phone banked both times or whatever. And not like intense or whatever, because I was working and had shit to do. But I did phone banking both times. And at least once a day, I would hear someone say that they would vote for the white half.
Yep. That was it.
Like,
it was a thing, and people don't acknowledge it. And it's the Washington Post actually wrote a good article on it, but it gets completely ignored.
Yeah.
I watched that Showtime show. I have Showtime because of Bodega Boys.
Nice.
Yeah. But I watched the Comey Rule, right?
Yeah.
And one of the better like bits of writing in it is at least one person, but I think two, throw down the R word in the scenes that take place in like 2015. And it's like how it's 2015 because high level people feel very comfortable using the R word.
Yeah, just dropping it, no problem.
Just dropping it like nothing.
Not 2 weeks in. They don't even need it. They're just doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not descriptive. It's not useful. It's just like them getting angry.
Yeah.
That was actually a decent bit of writing. That whole show was hilarious. That's someone told me my thing was like stealing Chapo's bit, but I haven't listened to the Chapo one because I wanted to watch the show first, and I just finished it yesterday. But the second episode, because it's only 2 episodes, they cut in half. Second one's basically a joke the entire time.
Nice.
And it's so amazing, and it's just Trump steamrolling everything.
Oh, hell yes.
And it's everyone kind of realizing like, oh, he's in charge of the entire system. And that basically like causes a problem because he doesn't care about any kind of norms.
Right.
And it's weird because like the spirit of it is this very resistance, very like, how dare you, sir? But the text of it is like, your ideology is focused entirely on means and not ends. Like Comey's whole thing is like, I don't care that doing the right thing will have the wrong outcome.
Right.
And it's like, well, you probably should care.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can only frame so many autistic Pakistani kids for so long before a little bit of karmic retribution comes.
Right. Exactly. And the old, like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Right.
That too.
Sports thing.
This isn't new.
Like, yeah. None of this is new. It's like, look, if you're not willing to like, and that's the other thing, is they are willing to do fucked up means. Like you said, the literal example you used is like, you're framing autistic Pakistani kids for all kinds of dumb bullshit. And like, you're going to act like you're on some moral high ground.
Exactly.
The fuck moral high ground are you on? They
have the scene where Trump is talking about how mad he is about that Republicans are calling him out for his interview about Putin, where he says, listen, we have killers too. You think our people aren't killing?
Right.
And Comey says, our people are not killing like Putin. And it's like, I mean,
1.5 million Iraqis,
Yeah, like I want to know what Gary Webb thinks of that.
Yeah. Or, I mean, honestly, Putin would be probably really, really stoked to even be compared, right?
Oh, totally, totally.
It's like just the thought of being like compared to America as like a fascist entity that murders people all over the world, he would be like so happy, But he's not wrong. They're not even close.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that's not what he means. What he means is it's good when we do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he thinks it's good when we do it, but it's also like, yeah, we are, GOAT, like God, like there's nothing on the planet close to America. in terms
No,
of just
not at all.
murdering brown people.
We're very efficient at it.
Yeah.
We have franchising all across the world. 1 billion served.
Yeah. At least. Like,
At
at least
least.
1 billion. Fucking, that's why a lot of people I've had on the pod sometimes will, like, as we're signing out, we'll give like devil horns or whatever, but like the name the Great Satan was because it is what America is. Like, America is the Great Satan. We don't say it as like, hell yeah, America.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, this web of fucking evil runs so deep and is so old and is
And it's so profound, and that's kind of where like because I always get the, like, you're joking about very fucked up things, and it's like my choices are either to not read about them or to joke about them. Like, those are my two options.
yeah, same, hard same.
And it's like, if you can actually, like, if you can go through the filing papers of Cisco and of Caterpillar and look up all the, like, heinous shit they do, like I used to do, and, like, not make jokes about it, cool. All right. I mean, good for you.
Right.
But I can't.
Yeah. It's like, you're a braver person than me if you can stomach the evil that this thing is.
And there's very few people who are, like, actually, like, in that realm. And, I know a few of them who are like, nothing we do is a joking matter kind of deal. Right. And, I can't be wrong with them because they are just as educated on it as I am, and they're doing the same kind of work and all that. So I just give them the whole, like, hey man, this is all I can do to cope.
Yeah, same.
But I can also enjoy that the president, was just being filled up with tubes and shit. Like, I can take solace in that.
Damn, it's so good. It's still so good. It just the thought of him being on the whatever the fuck, remdesivir, right? Just fucking.
That is an anagram for adrenochrome, right?
Oh no, that's the Dexa whatever.
No, I'm just messing.
No, the other one is a fucking cortisol steroid, right? So it is what they say adrenochrome is.
Right.
One of them is the thing that he's on. It's a cortisol boosting steroid. It's based on human adrenaline. It is a fucking adrenochrome.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's synthetic, of course, but so is regular adrenochrome now. Like,
I miss when it was organic. You just had, like, it was just a farmer, some babies, and a juicer, and it was everything was fine.
In my days, they made the Girl Scout cookies with real Girl Scouts. Fucking.
I mean, it's hack, but I still like the joke. I still like the guy who's like, I miss back in my day when it was, you had your farm, you had your hand crank juicer.
Yeah.
Just a pile of babies.
Back in my day, when you made lemonades, you made it with real AIDS.
Jesus.
Fucking, you can't make an omelet without cracking a few baby foreskins.
Yeah. I love that, like, Reagan, like, routinely told HIV jokes, like, all the time in front of the press, and it just never got spoken about. And it's just like it's been recorded, like,
never aired it. Like, they never put it on television.
Never.
And they're like, he never talked about AIDS. It's like, he talked about AIDS constantly.
He had one joke, and it was how one reporter who was, like, a Republican but didn't like him thought he was going senile because he kept telling the exact same joke to the exact same press pool over and over again. And it was about how a doctor said that he was prescribing, like, crepes to his HIV positive patients because that way he could slip it under the door. Like, he was like, I think he's going senile because he's told us the same joke 6 times.
Such a good joke, though. It's really not, but
it's very Patrick Bateman.
It is super Patrick, but it's also like, if you thought that is what AIDS was like and you just couldn't be in the same room as a person that had it. I think I heard that one. It was like pizza and pancakes by the time I heard it.
Probably.
I was probably 7 or 8, so it would be like in 91.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That it got around to middle school or, like, elementary schools. Yeah, fucking, that's crazy. I never read that Reagan told that joke about crepes.
Over and over again.
I knew he told AIDS jokes, but I did not know that it was specifically the flat food under the door joke.
Yeah, it was, and the guy who recorded it, like, didn't like Reagan, but he was like a Republican, but he recorded it in the sense of like, Reagan keeps telling this hilarious joke, but it's no longer funny after the second time. He's now getting like he's critiquing his bit as opposed to critiquing the message of his bit.
It's like, I really love homophobia, especially when the president does it. It's very charming. It's very funny for him to say that this disease that's killing mostly gay people, mostly black and brown gay people at that
Right.
time too. Otherwise, if it had been killing even white gay people, Reagan would have been like, all right, we got to take this seriously. It's killing white people now. But yeah, for him to be like, oh yeah, no, it's very funny once.
Yeah, exactly. It was
good.
and I like the guy. There's something about critiquing the method and not like any of the actual substance there. I heard this joke before, but someone used pizza, but Reagan used crepe. That K sound is really, that really hits it.
It is a better. It's two hard consonants. K.
Oh, totally.
Crepe is way funnier than pizza or pancakes.
It's also slightly foreign and bougie, so a doctor prescribing it, like, fits a little better.
Especially with what they thought about French people.
That too.
Yeah. It's weird. French people are either rapists or gay, right?
Yes.
They're never just regular people. It's always like they want to rape a cat that's been painted white.
They're just horned. Like at all times, they're just horned up in American minds.
Yeah, they'll fuck a painted cat or a butthole.
Right. Do you remember that French labor group that all took the picture of their hands over the nuclear button?
Oh,
do you remember this?
What?
Yes. So when they had the yellow suit protest happening and it was like reaching its fever pitch, I want to say it was a power plant outside of Nice. But it was a nuclear power plant, and they have like the shut off, start meltdown button, and all their hands are hovering over it, and they're like, we can do this at any time, Mr. Prime Minister or Mr. President.
Fuck, that rules.
And it's kind of like the whole like cowardly French person thing. Like, I think for a lot of people that might have ended it.
God damn, that should have gotten spread far and wide. I don't remember that happen. I mean, just in general, I don't think of the French as cowards. Like, I think that's like obviously a very dumb thing to believe about a country of people, and especially one that like just jumps out in public, gets tear gassed while playing a French horn,
right,
or whatever the fuck ways that they protest. But that's ballsy as shit.
Yeah, that is that would never happen. Those people in America would all be sitting in federal prison,
if not dead.
Yeah, that too. Like that, the one who was allowed to survive.
Yeah, what do you call it? Like involved in a involved in a police caused shooting or whatever the fuck. Passive.
I can't say caused. It's got to be an officer involved shooting.
Yeah, so not involved. It would be like passed away from injuries sustained in an officer involved shooting. There we go.
Yeah.
Words are so hard to do. Like if you're not so like. I don't have the emotional like labor or whatever the fuck you want to call that. Like I don't have the energy to like lie, like people that do that a lot. It must be fucking exhausting, right?
They have good memories. That's like the one thing.
Yeah, I don't.
Because they have to file it away.
Yeah. I just don't I can't be bothered, right? To remember a lie from yesterday, much less like one from 3 weeks ago, like who has the time, right? So,
right.
But anyway, it's been we're like 30 minutes past what I thought we were going to do. So I appreciate.
Oh shit, my bad.
No, it's not your bad. It's like a good thing to do. Extra time. Like that's great. I appreciate your time. I was going to say, I appreciate your time. And I'm going to put your in the video description.
Sweet.
With our sponsor for this episode, the Automotive Free Clinic out of Montgomery, Alabama, expanding to multiple locations.
Yeah.
Currently fundraising to have a brick and mortar, which is where people can bring their cars to have it worked on for free. They also tithe to, I say tithe, it's not spiritual, but they do a 10% donation to other either Native, Black, or Brown community outreach organizations. You know, I don't have any copy in front of me. This is just all off the dome. They're good people. I wouldn't work with them if they weren't good people. I'm not going to do a Patreon. I don't want your money. But I work with people that are better than me. So with that, McGrimm, you got anything else to say? Anything like last parting words?
Two things. First, listen to Radio Free Labor if you get a chance.
So good.
Good shout out to them. And then there's just one group I really need to send a message to. And like, they work hard day in, day out, and they just don't get the credit they deserve. And the reality is they're working harder than the entire Democratic Party to stop fascism.
Is that?
So, Rona, to you, keep going.
Hell yeah. Fucking Rona shouts out. This is episode 37. Great Sadie. We out of here. Fucking dead presidents. What's up? Be next in line and shine and still be writing rhymes and you would rather have a